G'day peeps, Jared here from Fluid Adventures, introducing my 2023 KTM 890, or as you may have noticed, Husqvarna 890 Australian Edition. In today's episode, I'll be going through some of the modifications I've made to my own bike using my own money with no affiliate or sponsorship advertising done here. So first of all, let's talk about the graphics kit, probably the most eye-catching modifications, brought to you by DabRabbit here. He's got an amazing set of schemes for your bike, all makes and models. Check him out, really good quality, possibly a little bit thin in places where the brighter colours of the OEM graphics stick through the white, but if you were going a darker scheme, then I'm sure it won't show through nearly as much. Once SKDA Australia, the awesome graphics kit here, who have done my Husqvarna motocross bike, shout out to them. They make some great products, very personalizable. You know what I mean. But yeah, hopefully they come out with some cool kits for the 890s. But today, showing off the DabRabbit mostly white kit, complete with some battle scars. Especially not happy that I dropped the bike and introduced some scratches, but hey, check out DabRabbit for all the graphics needs for your adventure bikes. Keeping with the front and the top of the bike, I did, like many of you, have some problems with wind buffeting and wind noise. So rather than go up higher and introduce a guillotine for my neck on the bigger jumps, then I decided to actually go shorter. Running without the screen at all confirmed that it improved the wind buffeting and wind noise. So I went with this Puig Sports Screen in a tinted or a smoke colour, and I'm quite happy with it. It definitely helped reduce some of the strain off my neck and mostly the wind buffeting whirring in my ears down the highway. Very happy with that. Again, at the top of the bike, I've got the Chigee Android Auto or CarPlay unit. Now it's going to want to start playing music here in a minute, I'm sure of it. So let's see what this, when this boots up, what it looks like. In future videos, I will do a review of the CarPlay unit next to the CarPuride unit featured on the wife's BMW adventure bike there. So she went with the CarPuride partly because it was significantly cheaper, it was larger, and she did not require some of the functionality that I needed that the Chigee provides. I'm quite happy with it, but let me know what you think, or if you have any questions. I'll do a full rundown of these two units in another video. Next up, we have no introductions needed. Mosko Moto Gnome, complete with 1.5 litres of water. Fairly small storage, but more than enough. I just keep a battery in there and some cable ties, odds and sods. But love the, hate tank bags with a passion. This one is quite good. Does not get in the way at all for me. I've got it mounted quite far forward as I can go without it fouling the bars, or just barely, but it's soft, so it doesn't really matter. And it's paired with the Mosko Moto R80 in signature Husqvarna orange and black. Sitting on my tyre changing machine at the moment, just for some storage space. but really happy with it. Which brings me to how I mount the R80. Now, this company here I can't rave enough about is Dynotech from Germany. They have some awesome CNC products. This is their mini rack, specifically designed to work with Krieger and Mosko. Here you'll see I've got the Mosko knob on, so I can remove the 3 rear straps and make it just so much faster and easier to take the Mosko kit on and off. Dynotech, check them out. I've got some other products I'm keen to purchase from them. They've got some really nice rear side racks that go here, probably double as a bit of extra support for the Mosko luggage on the rear. I'm super keen to check out their front side carrier, which will allow me to run the Mosko Gnome on the front and the side of my bike. So I can remove a little bit of the weight off the rear and probably even scratch the luggage rather than cause this sort of damage if I happen to drop it. Next, to talk about the double take mirrors. Here you'll see I've got the short stem option. I did try the longer option. I don't really see too much difference between the two, other than the shorter one, or the shorter option does allow it to fold down and out of the way a little bit better. But this is also the Gen 2. The last stalks I had were Gen 1, and they were okay, but the Gen 2 is a significant improvement in the ball design and how the stem clamps to the mirror and the bars. Moving right along, got the full wings exhaust, well, full wings exhaust, I should say, the wings exhaust and an Arrow Decat. Really opened the bike up. Did introduce some slight fueling problems in the low to mid RPM. Bike became quite jerky when trying to hold a constant throttle. So shout out to BC Performance in Sydney, Australia. They did a great job in dyno tuning the bike. Wasn't really chasing horsepower, but they did get another 10 horsepower, as if that wasn't enough already, but really chasing that smoother power curve and just to make sure the air fuel mixture and fueling was spot on for the new pipe and decat. Love it, sounds great. Can really hear what the bike's doing when you're into it through the bush. Might notice I've got a bit of a MacGyvered grab handle on the rear. This is actually just a pillion seat grab off a bike that had been crashed and was going to auction, and so the owner allowed me to snaffle that. Quite strong, it's bolted to the frame of the bike. Only problem I foresee with it is, of course, if the luggage is on there, I won't really be able to easily get to it. The luggage does sit fair way forward on the seat itself, but I may have to look at the Dynotech, make some really, really sexy grab rails, and I may well look at those. Oh, just on the Dynotech luggage rack, if you don't want the super mini small version that I've got here, which I don't know why you wouldn't because it just looks awesome, but if you did want the fuller, bigger plate, they do have an option for that, and it is quite a solid unit. I did originally want to go the Perun rack, but this one was just too good to pass up, and Garrett and the guys out at Dynotech have been nothing short of amazing, super helpful, really responsive, despite me being in Australia and them in Germany. But on the Perun Moto, I did go their luggage mount points here, which are in place of the passenger foot pegs, because hey, who needs them? And they work really well. So for the 2 side straps that the Mosko luggage requires, They simply strap on through there, strap on through there, strap on. There, I said it. Next up, AXP. Really good bash plate, plastic, but haven't experienced any issues with it. Actually, I kind of lie a little bit. If we look closely here where the mudguard does kind of touch that a little bit. Hasn't locked on or caused me any problems. I might need to grab the Dremel out and give it a kiss, bit of a touch up. Some Mosko Moto stickers. Shout out to Redback Race Paint in Canberra here, Canberra Smash Repairs for motorcycles. They do a great job in all fixing bikes and painting and whatnot if you happen to have an oopsie. So, I don't know that there's a whole lot else. I guess I could talk about the tyres I've been running. I did stick with the stock MOTOZ tyres, or MOTOZ, and they were actually pretty good. Since then I've had the MOTOZ Rail Z, front and rear. The rear was really good, but has since been replaced. The front Rail Z is still on. Look, on the pavement, it behaves like a knobby. It's a reasonably aggressive tyre, so it's not great in the wet or on the pavement. Off-road it's great, can't fault it. The rear on it now is again another MOTOZ. This one's the Desert HT. Being that we've had quite a bit of rain and the areas that I like to ride in, I thought I would go for something quite aggressive and be damned with the wear on the road. Next up, we'll have a look at the case saver, which is from Vanasche. Really awesome bit of kit. Makes it easy to get in around the chain and sprocket and clean. There also does a great job, obviously, of protecting the case, which is its obvious design feature. And couldn't be happier with it. Really nice. And a SuperSprox rear cog. I did change the gearing, but I only went down one on the front when I put the Vanasche and other bits and bobs on. It's really good. That lower gearing just opens it up and makes her breathe. So that's about it for the bike. There may be a few things I've missed, definitely while I think of it. Under the seat here, you'll know the Airbox. Fortunately, my model came with the pre-oiled foam filter. It was funny actually, when I bought the bike, it was supplied with a paper filter, but the dealer had swapped that out and provided the foam filter. He gave me the paper filter, which I promptly threw in the bin, and I bought the Twin Air Airbox mod, so the plate, a pre-filter, and also deleted the snorkels that sit up underneath the seat here. So what's next? I have a few additional mods I'd like to look at that I have been putting off for a little while. Mostly down to, I'm not quite sure, maybe you guys could let me know. The foot pegs. The stock foot pegs are, for me, at a good height and position. I'm 5'9", 5'10"-ish, 176 centimetres last time I checked. May have shrunk it in my old age. So yeah, I need some new foot pegs. Mostly just need the width. I just tend to stand a lot when I ride, and I find after a full day, the stock foot pegs are just that bit too narrow to be comfortable. I've so far looked at the Vanasche items, and they're pretty good. I like them. I have a bit of a soft spot for those guys because they do make some great gear. Pivotworks, Australia made, also have some really good option, and I quite like the way the foot pegs rock and move with your position on the bike. Probably the other thing I'll be looking for is a new back shock. The back shock and the forks, I really would have liked to have opted for the cone valve suspension on the Rally, but it was just a bit too tall. So really hoping to get cone valve, the WP Pro performance out of something else without increasing the seat height. The bike is on a paddock stand at the moment, so it probably looks a bit taller than what it is. In reality, it's a few inches higher up on the stand. But yeah, new forks and a new rear shock, sprung for my weight, valved, etc., all the usual bits. I find the stock system, even with a bit of filling with the clickers, has been just that little bit too harsh on the Australian corrugated roads, where we have many of them, and then on the bigger hits and the bigger jumps especially, it is way too soft, and that's without the luggage on. With the tank bag and its current configuration, and for me I'm about 85 kilos with my gear on, then it is just that bit too soft. So stay tuned, I'll go through a full rundown with what we do with the suspension when I get there. Foot pegs, suspension, rims. I really would like to go a narrow rim option front and rear. Bigger range of tyres available, save a bit of weight. This back tyre in the 140, 150 rear is super heavy. That's a lot of additional weight that we just don't need to have, and opens up the tyre options. Will mean I'll have to go to a tube setup, which is fine. It's, you know, probably a bit more reliable, being able to run lower pressures and whatnot. So they're the three things that I've got planned coming up. If you have any suggestions on any of those things, I'm looking at the XL Taxago or the A10 rims with the Hahn hubs. Seems to be a well-worn route by quite a few of you. I did come across another brand, which the name escapes me right now, made some beautiful rims, but they were pricey. So that might be a down the road thing if and when I choose to do so. And keep up in the comments, please share and like, and suggest anything else you'd like to know about this setup or any of the products I have. Again, big shout out to Mosko and Donatech, really two good, high quality, well-known brands. And if you haven't got a rack or you're looking at something a bit more minimalist, a bit lighter, then I suggest this mini rack from Donatech is great. Again, no sponsorship or affiliation. Everything's paid for with my own money, but credit where it's due. These guys have been tops. So that's it for me for this episode. Catch you next time.